Hello, hello, beautiful people. Happy, where are we? Saturday night in my world. I'm out in the other room working on a whole bunch of reviewing stuff and thinking, and I totally lost track of the time, so it's a little bit later than I would normally chat with you. But I'm here. But I also decided to keep it kind of lighthearted again like last night. And I'm just going to chat with you about stuff. How's that? And we'll start working on step 8 tomorrow night. So the first funny little thing I'm going to share with you is that I was actually going to go to a GA meeting tonight and then come and record. And I figured I'd share, whatever wisdom I got from the meeting. And it's funny because as I engage in these rooms, different people have invited me like, hey, will you come to Zoom meetings? Da, da, da. And I need to do my service and I need to go and show up in these rooms. It's part of what I believe in. GA and the people that had more clean time than me, that always showed up. They didn't stop contributing to their recovery or anyone else's, once they got to a certain point, you don't graduate recovery. I don't know if anybody's told you this. I don't want to, ruin your expectations if you had any, but we don't get to graduate. And I've been very focused on the stuff going on with my couple of businesses and my classes and all the things that I'm trying to get rolling. And I have not done a good job at participating at group at the center or GA. So whenever somebody calls me out, I try to show up. And I made it to one or two from one of the other groups. And sometimes I don't know anybody in the room. This is all, electronic in a lot of cases. It's not like I'm connecting with my old GA gang from Kansas City or anything like that, or even the local New York Zooms. I haven't done a good job at being at, and I got yelled at the picnic about that. So I could do a better job of that. However, I was going to go to this meeting tonight. I'd gotten the email and the Zoom link, and I just went in and signed in. And guess what? Like, nobody's showing up. It's like 8:01, 8:02. I'm like, all right. I double checked the email. Yeah. Evidently, I chose to read it how I wanted to read it. Their Zoom meetings are at 8 o'clock Eastern time, Monday through Friday. And today happens to be Saturday. So needless to say, nobody's there. They do meetings in the morning. So maybe I'll try to jump on tomorrow. We'll see. Maybe actually, as I'm talking through it, what I did this morning, I did go to group, and I'll tell you a little about that here in a second. But I went for a bike ride this morning, and I listen to a lot of audiobooks. And sometimes the content is just too heavy. Like, I can't ride a bike and listen to the content at the same time. Like, if it's too deep on, especially like Joe Dispenza or Eckhart Tolle, stuff that I really need to pay attention to, I can't do. And then there's even times when I'm like listening to music or just going for a ride, and I call it the brain train, where one thought leads to another thought leads to another thought. All of a sudden, I'm not paying attention to anything because my brain is wandering, or I get in a to-do list mode, whatever. Well, I realized today that while I was out for my bike ride, it was the same time as the group at the center. So I was like, okay, I'll jump on to group. And I've done this once before. I kind of turn the phone on and show my riding, so they see the sidewalk or the greenery or whatever, and not my face, because they'd probably be looking up my nose, right, the way the phone is angled. But at least I get to contribute and jump in. And I'm gonna share something with you, and I'm not throwing my group under the table, but under the bus, not under the table, under the bus. a few months back, we had some shit going on in the room. And I probably told you about it at the time, but I think it had a political element to it. It just has, heightened tempers and opinions. And a bunch of people left our group. Not the actual group at the center per se, but they left our thread is what they call it. It's our WhatsApp group. And a bunch of people left. And actually so many people left, like all the admins. I was the last admin standing. And there's two schools of thought. You can think about them leaving as if the environment was toxic, which it shouldn't be in a recovery environment. So shame on the toxicity and the people contributing to that. So if they protected themselves, if that's why they left, was to protect their sobriety, so to speak, in gambling terms, I totally get that and respect that. And most of them have migrated back. Not all of them, but most of them since. The three main people that were involved in all this rigmarole are not active on the thread anymore. I mean, they show up occasionally, but what's happened since all this stuff has happened was, like I said, some people left, but it's not the same. The dynamic is not the same. There's maybe a half a dozen people that are constantly in there. And it's just basically good morning, and that's about it. One of the fellas that was kind enough to take over my duties of posting the daily reading when I switched to, doing my daily readings with you guys, I don't see him in even the virtual groups anymore. Where I'm going with this is, since all this happened, it's not the same, and it's really sad, at best. And now I get it. COVID, Zoom, it's not the same, but now the center's opened. We used to have, it was practically standing room only. There'd be 20 to 30 of us at group on a Saturday morning. And now groups are like 5 or 6 people. And there's different schools of thought on this. Hopefully I remember to circle back. I want to talk about how I feel about my responsibility on this, but what I want to talk about first is, this is what I call it addictude. Instead of having a good attitude, people have addictude, and that's when people are acting like with their addict qualities, showing up more so than their recovery qualities. Now, I have my opinions about people not participating, and it's not for me to have opinions about it. Like, everybody has to do their own thing. But what has happened is, because everybody pulled away, or all these people pulled away, like, the group is crumbling. Like, it's crumbling, and it's the saddest thing I've seen. And as someone who tends to be a leader, and I mean, they call me deputy director because I tend to, either probe with my questions or call people out on their bullshit or try to keep the administrative stuff going. I try to have a very active role, and I can't force people to come back and participate. Just like I can't call all of them and be like, hey, you guys, if everybody just went back in the old ways, of the sense of, let's all work together on recovery instead of all these walls that are now built. It's not my job. It's not my responsibility. And it's a shame because, like, parts of me want to be proactive about it, and it's just not my responsibility. And I feel a little guilty about that. And on some level, it's protecting my recovery in the sense of if I try and I approach people and I try to get people to rally and they don't, I'm going to end up frustrated. And, I don't want to be frustrated. I don't want to, I already feel like I've lost at least one of the friendships that I had before COVID. One of my friends, I used to talk about him all the time on here, and him and I used to speak often. And he was one of those people that we could be honest about anything and everything. And when some of this started, and I don't even know if our incident was the same as whatever caused all this drama. Like, I just don't even remember all the drama stuff. I asked him, and at first I wasn't ready to speak to him because I wasn't in a good place and I knew I wasn't going to handle myself. And then when I asked him, did he want to talk? And, I've never gotten any response on a serious level to fix it. So it's just been, we're in a different group, little text place, and it's just been casual, not a whole lot of, like, I feel like the friendship's kind of fizzled. Like, it's like polite, superficial bullshit. And I don't know why I've had him on the brain this week. It sucks, to lose friends. And there's this balancing act that we have to do when it comes to being in these group environments. And I think that it's probably one of the biggest downfalls in GA as well. People are people, and then throw in the fact that we have issues, whether it's addiction or mental illness or whatever leads us to gambling. It's going to be a more either volatile situation or just a more delicate situation. Whatever that language is around it, more challenging. It's just going to be that way. And my perspective on it is it's a testament of how you're working your recovery and how you deal with these situations. So, which is part of why I feel the guilt, because part of me wants to show up and be the fixer, but that's not really working my recovery. That's me trying to control people and control things that are out of my control, which is Serenity Prayer 101. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna, send like love and good vibes, and I'm gonna try to stay as connected as I can on my schedule. I know that the work I'm doing in the background is for the greater good, and that it's not that I'm not contributing, to just not contribute. It just sucks. It's just not the same. It's just not the same community I walked into, and it's not the same community that I left physically, when COVID ramped up and we stopped meeting as a group. So it's just heartbreaking. And I guess that's a little on my brain today. I went to group this morning, and one of the folks that was an administrator in the group and someone who had been progressing, I thought, quite well in his recovery, had relapsed. And I'm glad that he came back, and I'm glad that he shared with us and talked to us about it. And, I had some passionate feedback for him, and I did speak up, but, how does it come across on a bike, on a Zoom call, without looking somebody in the eye? Does it sound like I'm just being bitchy, or does it sound like I'm being constructive? So I had a little bit of those thoughts, and he was cool. He got me, I wrote to him on the side. But this isn't the same man, the same person. I guess none of us really are the same as we were before the world essentially shut down and we got disconnected. I think I totally didn't know that this was going to all fall out of my mouth tonight, guys. So thank you for listening to me. And I guess I would just ask you, I know I'm always giving you like little challenges and self-improvement work or questions to ask yourself, and we work together. And I know the Bobby way, like, isn't necessarily the right way for anybody and everybody. It's just, this is just the way I approach things. And if you can get some value from some of my perspective, great. If it just gets you thinking a little different, then great. If it helps you not gamble today, it's great. If you don't agree, that's fine too. And hopefully you don't disagree on such a way that, like how this situation was, where people disagreed and then they just left the situation, and abandoned. In some cases, I feel like people abandon their recovery, abandon the connection, abandon the community. And it's heartbreaking. And I guess I haven't really talked about it much, but it was, evident. There's 2 people in that room today that, had one of the girls had over 2 years. And I saw her before today. So I knew that she had gone back out. And you just got to wonder, if we were all still together, would we be thriving? As a community, would we have been more dialed into each other and more supportive? Like, would these folks have not gone back out? I mean, again, big, huge blessing that they showed back up and they came in and they're telling their truths and they have a shot. But what are we doing? How are we acting? How are we interacting? When we're, I don't want to air quotes recovery, but when we're in recovery, are we acting like we're in recovery? Are we being the kinds of people that we want to be, the kinds of people that leave an impression in this world, or, with other people on their hearts and stuff? Are we setting a good example? Are we being supportive? There's so much to it. And it's not that everybody else is our responsibility. However, coming from a place of service and trying to do good and trying to support each other is definitely, like, for me, I know being of service is something really important to me. Not just because, GA preaches it, but because it makes me feel good and it keeps me really dialed in to my recovery. And I like helping people. Like, it's awesome. I mean, I'm working with a girl right now that, Facebook connected us as mentor mentee. And, she made it a 9-day stretch without gambling. And, like, there's just something so rewarding. Not that I did that, but I enjoyed being part of that. She was thinking a little differently because of some of the conversations we had. And I was able to share my story with her. And, she took what she needed to take, because I'm like, gosh, old enough to be her mother. I'm literally double her age. But I had been her age once, and I had been through a lot of the things that she was going through. And just the fact that she knows that she's not alone is another piece. And the one thing I really treasure about the people that I've been fortunate enough to work with is their complete honesty. I'm not necessarily happy when people go back out, but I'm happy that they're confident enough in me to know that they can tell me and trust me with that, and know that I'm not going to judge them or, criticize them or whatever. Like, it's part of the journey, unfortunately. And because I have so much clarity around the fact that my relapse was so purposeful, it was very destructive, don't get me wrong, but it had a purpose, because I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now if I didn't relapse. I just wouldn't. I don't see how the roads would have let me here. And I wouldn't have had as much insight and education in this space as I do now. And hopefully more tools to not only just maintain my gamble-free time, but to help others maintain theirs. So I believe all of it has a purpose, and even maybe all of this separation of our group has a purpose. It just doesn't feel that way right now. It just feels sad. And evidently that was what was on my heart today. And if you hear anybody from group that is listening, I mean, I don't know who does and doesn't, to be completely honest. I have a sense of some, and I know that some people have listened to some episodes, but I'm not really saying this for their ears specifically, but if they do hear me, maybe we could be united and getting our group, our family back together. And that's what it's exactly like, is a family having family squabbles. And if it was a family thing, I would tell you to do what you needed to do to protect your recovery. And if that's what everybody's doing, then that's what everybody's doing. It's just, I know that we need the center to be strong, and we need the resources that it has. And as finances get wacky, from the state, I got to tell you guys, you want to hear something that I know I get so aggravated about the littlest things, or things that I shouldn't be aggravated. I should be a good example and not get really pissed off about some things, but I still am human and I still get pissed off. I walk by that freaking casino every freaking day, multiple times a day. And do you know that every freaking time that I walk by it, every gosh darn slot machine is lit up like it's Christmas. So for 4 months, all that electricity is being burned. Now, I don't know what the reason is, but why the frick are they not unplugging them? Like, why? Just under the simple fact that they're state run and the state needs money and resources. Like, I have no idea how much electricity it takes to run that place, but I imagine it costs a mint. And it's one of those silly little things, but like, really, why are you not unplugging the freaking shit? It bothers me more that it's so wasteful. Especially here it is the summer, right? Like, how about people want electricity for their air conditioning to stay cool and to stay safe and whatever. I totally digress there. Anyway, if you're part of a recovery community, I advocate for you to be part of the community and be your best self and show up as your best self every chance you can. That's, I guess, my message today. And then I'm sad. I miss my recovery family in the sense of the center. And hopefully whatever happens will happen for the greater good. I know it will. I believe in that stuff. So I know that it all has value and it's happening exactly how it should happen. And I guess I'm feeling exactly what I should be feeling in this moment. So, all right. Well, that was totally not what I planned on talking to you guys about. So I guess you'll get more nuggets about some of the other things I'm thinking about either as the week continues or when we're done with step 8. I don't know. You never know what you're going to get with me on these evening episodes. All right, beautiful people. I will talk to you, in about 12 hours. Thanks.